Good morning, and thank you for joining me today for this online service of the First Unitarian Church of Alton on this 13th day of December 2020. This is a lay-led congregation, and I am Joy Heft, the church pianist as well as a worship associate here. It is a good morning to be together. Today we come to sing Christmas carols and learn a bit about their history. We welcome everyone to this place of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We are Unitarian Universalists. We begin our service with a prelude, O Little Town of Bethlehem. Our opening words are by Barbara Cheatham. When winter's darkness spreads across the land and cold seeps through our thickest coats, we hurry here, drawn by the warmth of faces familiar and new, to the welcoming walls of this house. Here, for this hour, we open ourselves to new understanding, reassurance, and hope, for this is a place where truth, love, and challenge meet. As we start our holiday sing, I want to thank our musical guest who will be leading us in song. A big thanks goes out to Michelle Bryant Barbeau, Nathan Brown, Greg Gaines, John Herndon, Ken Heft, and Jerry and Mary Johnson. for sharing their voices with us today during our virtual sing-along. Let us begin as we look to the skies for answers and wonder. Let us start by bringing some light into our worship service by singing our first carols that light up the skies and our way. Although very little is known about the origin of the first Noel, historians think that the traditional melody originated in France as early as the 1200s. This carol is thought to have been brought across the Channel to England by the wandering troubadours in the 1800s, where people added simple words to the melody. Englishmen William B. Sandys and Davies Gilbert collaborated to write additional words and published it in 1823. The first Noel became a great favorite for Christmas Eve. This was when entire villages gathered for singing and celebrating the bringing in of the Yule log. English Christmas traditions called for the Yule log to burn as a sign of goodwill through all 12 days of Christmas, and the goodwill was shared through song. At that time, carols were thought of as popular religious songs meant to be sung outside the church, while hymns were sung within. Both the French word Noël and the English word Noël with a W mean nativity or birth, and refers to the birth of Jesus Christ on the first Christmas. As Greg leads us in song, please join us in singing the first Noel.
The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. They looked up and saw a star shining in the east beyond them far. And to the earth it gave great light, and so it continued both day and night. Noel, 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 born in the King of Israel. And by the light of that same star, 3 Magies came from country far. To seek a king was their intent, and to follow the star wherever it went. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel.
Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella is not as common as some other Christmas carols. This tune, which originated from the Provence region of France in the 17th century, was not originally meant to be sung at Christmas time, and instead was considered dance music for French nobility. The story behind the lyrics of this song is about Jeanette and Isabella, 2 female farmhands who found the baby and his mother in a stable. Excited by this, they run to a nearby village to tell the inhabitants, who rush to see the new arrivals. Visitors to the stable are urged to keep their voices quiet, so the newborn can sleep. To this day, on Christmas Eve, in the Provence region of France, children still dress up as shepherds and milkmaids and carry torches and candles while singing this carol on their way to midnight mass. Please join me in singing Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella, as Mary and Jerry lead us in song.
Bring a torch, Jeanette Isabella, bring a torch and quickly run. Christ is born, good folk of the village, Christ is born, and Mary's calling, ah, ah, beautiful is the mother, ah, ah, beautiful is her child. Come and see within the stable, come and see the Holy One. Come and see the lovely Jesus, Christ is born, and Mary's rosy. Hush, hush, quietly now he slumbers, hush, hush, quietly now he sleeps.
As we light our chalice this week, we pledge to work for that most rare of things, peace on earth. If you have a candle or chalice at home, I invite you to light your candle as I light mine. And join me in saying the following words on this third week of Advent. In this holiday season, may we find peace inside ourselves. May we be peace for those around us, and may we renew our commitment to bring peace with justice to our community and the world. May we be peace. Our next hymn is O Come All Ye Faithful, which was originally written in Latin as Adeste Fideles. This hymn was first published in 1751 by John Francis Wade in his collection Cantus Diversi. It had 4 Latin verses and was written in the traditional square notation used during medieval liturgical music. The original 4 verses were extended to a total of 8 and have been translated into many languages. The English translation, O Come All Ye Faithful, was written in 1841 and is the most common widespread translation. As Michelle leads us in singing, please join me in singing O Come All Ye Faithful.
O come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. O come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. O come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Yea, Lord, we greet thee, born this happy morning. Jesus, to thee be all glory given. Word of the Father, now in flesh appearing. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ exaltation. Sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God in the highest. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
Angels We Have Heard on High is another traditional French Christmas carol that originated as early as the 18th century. In the 1819, this carol was published in North America for the Diocese of Quebec. In the book of Luke 2:14, we find the Canticle of the Angel's Song, one of the most famous and frequently sung in the Christmas canticles. The refrain of Angels We Have Heard on High is taken directly from this verse for this carol. In reflecting on a common theme found throughout, a cosmic chorus resounds in the first stanza. The chorus begins in heavens with the angels, then the mountains in reply echoes back in response antiphonally, symbolizing the participation of the earth, bringing heaven and earth together. In 1862, this carol was translated into English from the French original text by James Chadwick. Please join me in singing Angels We Have Heard on High as Nathan leads us in singing.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why these songs of happy cheer? What great brightness did you see? What glad tidings did you hear? Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. See him in a manger laid, whom the angels praise above. Mary, Joseph, lend your aid, while we raise our hearts in love. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
For our meditation, we will be singing Silent Night. A little background about this popular Christmas carol. The lyrics were written by Joseph Moore, and the music was composed by Franz Xaver Gruber, and was heard for the first time on December 24th, 1818, in the little village church in Austria. That Christmas Eve morning, Joseph Moore was anxious to show his musician school friend teacher, Franz Gruber, the poem that he wrote. Moore traveled to a nearby town where Franz Gruber lived to show him his poem that he wrote and to ask him to compose a guitar accompaniment to the poem so that it could be sung at midnight mass that evening. His reasoning for wanting this new carol is still unknown, but some speculate that he didn't think the organ accompaniment would have worked for this carol, and the fact that he dearly loved guitar music, or that he merely just wanted a new carol for Christmas Eve. Later that evening, as the two men, backed by a choir, stood in front of the main altar in St. Nicholas Church, they sang Silent Night, Holy Night for the first time. They could hardly have imagined their impact their composition would have had on the world. As John leads us in singing, please join me in singing Silent Night.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight, glory stream from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing Alleluia, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, child of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace.
Our next group of songs demonstrate the more secular side of Christmas. O Christmas Tree dates back to the 16th century, and its origin is from a German folk song, O Tannenbaum. O Tannenbaum is about the fir tree, not the Christmas tree. The original lyrics translated are, O fir tree, you are a noble bough. You make the winter a dear summertime green. It is about the everlasting beauty of the fir tree and how we can learn something from its year-round strength. In the middle of the 19th century, the carol became associated with the traditional Christmas tree, and thus it began to be sung as a Christmas carol. Shortly afterwards, the song was translated into English as O Christmas Tree. There are numerous versions of the lyrics. Please join me in singing this version of O Christmas Tree with Ken leading us in song.
Oh Christmas tree, with faithful leaves unchanging. Oh Christmas tree, be green when summer's here, but also when it's cold and drear. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, with faithful leaves unchanging. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, you fill our hearts with gladness. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, you fill our hearts with gladness. When winter's days are dark and drear, you bring us hope for all the year. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, you fill our hearts with gladness.
Deck the Halls is what might be called a secular Christmas carol, meaning it has no particular religious content. This popular song dates back to the 16th century and wasn't always associated with Christmas either. The melody comes from a Welsh winter song called Nos Galan, which actually refers to New Year's Eve. This Welsh melody was adapted for many English folk songs in the 16th and 17th centuries. Even Mozart used the music in a piano-violin duet. The current words are said to be of American origin from the 19th century. In 1862, Thomas Oliphant, a Scottish songwriter who published modern lyrics to older melodies, took the melody Nos Galan and composed lyrics for the onset of the Christmas holiday. He described the decorating and merriment that typically accompanies the celebration, including a line about drinking. He was interested in capturing the spirit of the song, including the fa-la-la refrain. This American Christmas carol, which removed references to drinking, was published in 1877 in the Pennsylvania School Journal. Please join me in singing Deck the Halls as Ken leads us in song.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, fa la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure, fa la 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 la. Fast away the old year passes, fa la 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 la. Hail the new ye lads and lasses, fa la la la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la la. Heedless of the wind and weather, fa la la.
One Horse Open Sleigh or Jingle Bells was written by Unitarian James Pierpont in 1857. It was a slang song, which was popular at the time and had nothing to do with Christmas, but was meant to be sung on Thanksgiving. There has been some controversy about where this song originated. Both Massachusetts and Georgia claim ownership of Jingle Bells. There are many stories circulating about its origin. Here are some of the stories. The most popular story about where and when Jingle Bells was written was in Medford, Massachusetts, where sleigh races were popular in the 1800s, claiming itself the birthplace of the song. There is a plaque at 19 High Street where Pierpont was said to have penned the ditty in 1850. The original title was One Horse Open Sleigh, but changed it to Jingle Bells when it was reprinted in 1859. The other story is that the people in Savannah, Georgia, where Pierpont is buried, insists that he wrote the jaunty winter anthem in their city in the late 1857, and led the first Jingle Bell sing-along in a local church where his brother was pastor. According to an article in the Boston University Today, Kina Hamill, an assistant director and teacher at CFA School of Theater, became interested in the Jingle Bell story while working as a volunteer with the Medford Historical Society and Museum. She unearthed a story that proposes that Pierpont could not have written Jingle Bells in Medford Tavern in 1850 because he was in California trying in vain to cash in on the gold rush. While he did enjoy some success as a photographer in California, at least until 1851, he returned to Boston broke after a fire in San Francisco burned down his shop. There is also a playbill from the Harvard Theater collection at the Houghton Library that puts the song's first performance at John Ordway's Ordway Hall on Washington Street in Boston on September 15, 1857. There, One Horse Open Sleigh was performed by Johnny Pell, working with a troupe called Ordway's Aeolians. Pierpont went on to write about a dozen songs for Ordway's performers, which was concurrent with his move to Savannah. Shortly after the move in 1859, he copyrighted the song as Jingle Bells, or the One Horse Open Sleigh. Hamill's bet as to when and where Pierpont wrote the song was in an old state house in Boston, where he lived at least until the early summer of 1857, before moving south. Jingle Bells didn't become a Christmas standard until decades later. Some choirs adopted it as part of their repertoire in the 1860s and 1870s, and was featured in a variety of parlor songs and college anthologies in the 1880s. It was first recorded by the Edison Male Quartet in 1898 and became a Christmas favorite in the early 20th century, often associated with Currier and Ives' images of pastoral Christmases past. Please join me in singing Jingle Bells. Music and singing is by Stefan Kartenberg from ccmixter.org.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. Over hills we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirit bright. Oh, what sport to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what joy it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what joy it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank, Misfortune seemed his lot. He got into a drifted fake and we got upset.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what joy it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
A day or two ago, the story I must tell. I went out in the snow, and on my back I fell. A gent was riding by in a one-horse open sleigh. He laughed as I sprawling lie, but quickly drove away.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what joy it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Now the ground is white. Go it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing a sleigh song. Just get a bobtail bay. 240 is his speed. Hitch him to an open sleigh and crack, you'll take the lead.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what joy it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what joy it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
In a one-horse open sleigh.
In a one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
Our story for all ages is a video of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, also referred to as a visit from St. Nicholas. This Christmas poem was written in the early 19th century. Authorship is attributed to the most popular and famous text published by Clement Clarke Moore. The poem was first published on December 23, 1823, by the Troy Sentinel newspaper in Upper State New York. Please enjoy watching this video of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Ma in her nightdress and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick. I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick, more rapid than eagles his course as they came. And he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the chorus they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
We've just heard the story, The Night Before Christmas. Our next two carols have been associated with the story we just heard about Santa Claus or Old Saint Nick. According to William Studwell in the Christmas Carol Reader, Up on the Housetop was the second oldest secular Christmas song after Jingle Bells. This carol was written by Benjamin Handy in 1864. Handy was a minister of a church in New Paris, Ohio. But by Christmas, he was no longer working as a pastor, but running a singing school. He composed Up on the Housetop as a Christmas sing-along song and originally titled it Santa Claus. Handy probably got the idea for the song from Clement Moore's 1822 poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. As Mary and Jerry lead us in song, please join me in singing Up on the Housetops.
Up on the housetop, reindeer paws, out jumps good old Santa Claus. down through the chimney with lots of toys, all for the little ones' Christmas joys. Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Up on the housetop, click, 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 down through the chimney with good Saint Nick. First comes the stocking of little Nell. Oh dear Santa, fill it well. Give her a dolly that laughs and cries, one that will open and shut her eyes. Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Up on the housetop, click, 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 down through the chimney with good Saint Nick. Next comes the stocking of little Will. Oh, just see what a glorious fill. Here is a hammer and lots of tacks, also a ball and a whip that cracks. Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Up on the housetop, click, 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 down through the chimney with good Saint Nick.
Jolly Old St. Nicholas is a traditional secular Christmas carol that was originally written as a poem by Emily Huntington Miller in December 1865. The poem was published in the Little Corporal magazine entitled Lily's Secret. The revered character Santa Claus, who brightens children's imaginations each Christmas, is also known as Jolly Old St. Nicholas. Most people are not aware of the fact that there was a real person bearing the name St. Nicholas. Bishop St. Nicholas, who lived some 1700 years ago in Turkey, was well known for his generosity, particularly towards children. Please join me in singing Jolly Old St. Nicholas.
Jolly old St. Nicholas, lay your ear this way. Don't you tell a single soul what I'm going to say. Christmas Eve is coming soon, now you dear old man. Whisper what you'll bring to me, tell me if you can. When the clock is striking 12, when I'm fast asleep, down the chimney broad and black, with your back you'll creep. All the stockings you will find hanging in a row. Mine will be the shortest one, you'll be sure to know. Johnny wants a pair of skates, Susie wants a sled, Nellie wants a picture book, yellow, blue, or red. Now I think I'll leave to you what to give the rest. Choose for me, dear Santa Claus, you will know the best.
Greetings. My name is Michael Tarabolsky, and I've been asked to say a few words about what led me to the Unitarian Church and what keeps me here. It's a story that I've told before here at the First Unitarian Church of Alton and in other Unitarian communities I've been part of. And it's really quite simple. It was like this. I was born that way. Not into a Unitarian family. I was raised Catholic, but somehow I was predisposed to the open-mindedness of the Unitarian faith. From as far back as I can recall, which would make it the early to mid-1960s, I was interested in anthropology, the whole four-field approach, which term I didn't know at the time, and which, if you don't know now, consists of physical and cultural anthropology, archaeology, and linguistics. In any case, in an era when other young boys, when asked what they wanted to be when they grew up, would say, if they answered anything at all, because that's an annoying adult question, They would say a fireman, a policeman, a doctor, or popular around 1965, an astronaut. I would say, when asked that question, that I wanted to be an anthropologist or an archaeologist. And I meant it. I was interested in how our little community in northeastern Pennsylvania, mostly Catholic and Methodist, operated, and in how other cultures and religions worked. We had Jewish summer camps all around us, so there was that other religion to think about. I was interested in foreign languages. Ours was a heavily Polish-American area of Pennsylvania, and my father's parents had come over from Poland around 1910. My mother was from Irish and English stock from back in the 1840s and before the Revolutionary War, respectively. And of course, there was television and books. I liked documentaries and books about other countries and other times, and I liked books of folk tales and myths and creation stories of other cultures. I ate that stuff up. And so it was that about the time I was 12 years old, and when I and other Catholic kids were dismissed from regular school every Tuesday afternoon to attend religious instruction at a nearby church, that I had a problem. This happens in instruction. One day, the instructor, a young Catholic brother in this case, in charge of our lessons, asked, "Are there any questions?" And, up went my hand. I was a curious kid and not shy about asking questions. So, yeah, up goes the hand, and I said something like, why should I believe that all these Bible stories are true when so many people around the world now and in the past have or had their own stories? Why should we think these stories are true and not American Indian or Greek or Roman or Egyptian myths? I don't suppose I was that articulate about it then, if I'm being articulate about it now. But I got my idea across, and those are good questions. The young brother said to me. I recall, to his credit, he responded very calmly. You should look into them more, maybe, and perhaps the Catholic Church is not the place for you. And I recall being very comfortable with that response. I didn't say, "Okay then, later, dude," and get up and walk out. But I checked out mentally or psychologically, I guess. I checked out of Catholicism. It became interesting to me only as another religion among the many or hundreds or the thousands or, an infinite number of, God only knows, right? God only knows how many religions there are or ever were. Now, as to finding Unitarians, a group that has the same sort of outlook, that would take another couple of decades. I started going to the Unitarian Church in Moscow, Idaho, shortly after moving there in the spring of 1991. Some friends from the university suggested it. The minister then was Lynn Unger, who was very good and who since went on to bigger, if not better than Moscow, Idaho, bigger things in Unitarian Universalist circles. From the first, that felt like a place I belonged, and so I kept going and I stayed with the Unitarians, though not particularly, as you see, because I'm here in Alton, not particularly in Moscow, Idaho. My only regret in all this is not having gone among the Unitarians sooner. I should have joined up in the mid-1980s upon moving to Madison, Wisconsin. They have a very nice Frank Lloyd Wright designed church there in Madison. As it happens, curiously, 3 separate Unitarian couples from Madison moved to Moscow, Idaho during the time that I was there, and I met them, and they were, good people. So that is my story. I thank you for your attention. Peace be upon you.
As we approach the time of our offering, give what you will, for you are a generous people. I invite you to either mail your offering to the First Unitarian Church office, posted on the slide, or use the Givelify or PayPal app. Doing so will help us meet our financial responsibilities for the year. Please join me in our offering prayer, which is projected above. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. The carol, We Three Kings, was written by John Henry Hopkins in 1857. He wrote the carol for a Christmas pageant in New York City. Hopkins wrote both the lyrics and the music, and it was originally titled Three Kings of Orient. The carol centers around the biblical Magi, the three wise men who visited Jesus as a child, sometime after his birth, and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, while paying homage to him. In 1863, Hopkins decided to publish the carol in his book, Carols, Hymns, and Songs, and renamed it We Three Kings. This was the first Christmas carol originating from the United States to achieve tremendous popularity. Please enjoy listening to this instrumental version of We Three Kings. Joy to the World was not originally written as a Christmas carol, and wasn't even written to be a song. Isaac Watts was one of the great hymn writers in church history, and the fact is that he wrote one of his most famous hymns by accident. Watts wrote the text to this poem in 1719. It was based on one of the Psalms, and rather than just translating the original Old Testament text, he interpreted the Psalms as a celebration of Jesus' role as king of both his church and the whole world. More than a century later, the second half of this poem was adapted and set to music to give us what has become one of the most famous of all Christmas carols. Lowell Mason, born in 1792, was a Boston music educator and published his own arrangement of Handel's melodic fragrance in a book called Occasional Psalms and Hymn Tunes. He pieced together portions of Handel's Messiah and put it together with Isaac Watts' text to Joy to the World. This resulted in a favorite Christmas hymn based on an Old Testament psalm sent to a musical arrangement composed in England and then pieced together across the Atlantic to make up the tune that we now sing in North America. The words we are singing today are not the traditional words, but from our hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition. This version is earth-centered, taking out the Christian words. For example, instead of Lord has come, it inserts the phrase Word has come. Please join me in singing Joy to the World as Michelle leads us in singing this carol.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth with praises ring. Let every heart prepare our own. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, now gladness reigns. Let hearts the songs employ, while field and flood rock hills and plain. Repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. No more let sins and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. Let righteousness its glory show, as far as love is found, as far as love is found, as far as love is found.
Next week, December 20th, Michelle Bryant Barbeau will lead us in a winter solstice service on Zoom. On December 24th, Christmas Eve, Robin and Tracy will lead a Christmas Eve Vesper service around 7 o'clock on Zoom. On December 27th, the Worship Associates will lead a New Year's Eve service with a burning bull fire pit at the church outside in the park, weather permitting. You're welcome to join us as we can social distance outside, so please watch for announcements about this service. Learning how to navigate difficult conversations is important for anyone, but especially when difficult decisions are ahead for a diverse and passionate congregation. Robin would like to run a session on difficult conversations for our congregation in January. So please keep this in mind as we transition into the new year. The best way to keep up with church activities is to read your email Church This Week, as well as the monthly newsletter. Please keep us abreast of important events and important things you want to share with your UU siblings here at church. Thank you for coming today and sharing this holiday spirit through singing Christmas carols and songs. For our closing, we have one last song which relays my sentiment to all of you. We wish you a Merry Christmas. This carol has been dated back to the 1830s. The words to A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year during that era sounded a little like this. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, a pocket full of money and a cellar full of beer. This was sung by children who would go about singing from door to door to request gifts. After they would sing and perform, they would be served beer by their farmers' wives. The other sources show this greeting in the different parts of England during the 19th century. This origin is from the English tradition wherein wealthy people of the community gave Christmas treats to the carolers on Christmas Eve, such as figgy pudding, which was much like a modern-day Christmas pudding or referred to as raisin or plum pudding. As we end this service, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Please join me in singing our closing carol, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, as all of our musical guests join us in singing this carol together.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. Oh, bring us a big pudding. Oh, bring us a big pudding. Oh, bring us a big pudding and a cup of good cheer. Good tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We won't go till we get some. We won't go till we get some. We won't go till we get some. So bring some out here. Good tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Is it by Monday?
Hold on, you're caught.
Why?
Maybe you can.
As we extinguish our candle, please say the following words by Martha Munson. We extinguish the chalice here, that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. I look forward to seeing you at our virtual coffee hour on Zoom and hope to see you all next week.